How's everyone doing today? Yay, excellent. I'm not used to having this much space on the stage, it's great. Before I get started, can I just get a quick show of hands for anyone who would say that they're an introvert, please? Thanks. Because I too am an introvert, and despite doing quite a lot of public speaking, it never gets easier, and I am as terrified speaking in front of you as I am speaking in front of about 3 people. So just bear with me if I go off on a tangent or if my voice wavers, just nod and smile, because it's, I'm sure you're all lovely, but you do look scary right now. So yeah, I'm here today to talk about it's time to redesign design. But before I get started on the talk, I just want to bring everyone's attention to the fact that it's Black History Month at the moment. And as one of the few people of colour that I think is on the stage today, I just want to really encourage and stress how important it is to go out and support diversity and inclusion and understanding how to bring difference into the industry. So if there are any Black History Month events that you're aware of or things going on, please do go out and support it, because it's really important. But I will get back onto topic now. So I'm a lead service designer at an organisation called DigitalBridge, and we are an organisation that's based actually just down the road. So I am from Manchester, and I live here. I've lived here for about 10 years. And we saw this every day. We saw people just being upset and annoyed at what should have been a really positive experience of designing their own bathrooms and kitchens and renovating their home, but people were so often frustrated and angry and annoyed at having to make decisions, at the mundanity of it, being screwed over by builders. All of these things were going on, and we summed it up like this: people are just pissed off. And this is true not just in the design industry, but across the board. And I kind of think that's why we're here at a UX conference, is to try and make people a little bit less pissed off if they can be. And that's what we summarised. People are annoyed, people are angry, people are distressed. And it became our mission to try and understand how everyone can be a designer and design their home. I'm not a lover of cats, and I actually feel like giving cats the ability to design something is just that one step closer to them becoming wild leaders and dominating. So I'm not sure how much I agree with this. However, what really struck me was the fact that we used design twice in our mission statement without really going into understanding what that looks like or how it's going to happen. And that's really where my role as a service designer comes in. It's looking at the full end-to-end journey, offline and online, to understand what everyone goes through to get to their dream bathroom, to get to their dream design, to get to that new home. And I should also confess that I'm not a designer, a classically trained designer. I studied history and politics at university from a humanities background and taught myself design skills. And you'll see throughout this, hopefully not too much, but I'm not visually great. So the big question that stood out to me from our mission statement and from what we do as an organisation, and really what sparked my interest in this talk and giving it, is what is design. For anyone that loves memes, this is going to follow a common meme analogy. So I also try and get my parents into every talk that I give, because they're my absolute heroes and the reason why I do everything that I do. So shout out to my mum and dad. So if you ask my folks what design is, they'd probably say something like this. This is an image from the Design Museum in Copenhagen, where there are a lot of chairs. There are a lot of variations of stools, chairs, things you sit on, none of which are allowed to sit on, by the way. And they'd probably then say this: the way that things look in a room, the aesthetic, knowing where things work. And I proliferated this stereotype by offering to hang up all of the pictures in my mum and dad's house for them. But this is probably what they would say design is. At a stretch of an imagination, they'd probably say this is what design is. It's that kind of, it's being able to sketch something, draw something out, visualize whatever it is that you want. And also, this is how good of a designer I am. This is the limits of my capability. But fundamentally, when I asked my mum and dad what design is, they have no idea. They're not able to summarize it up succinctly. They're not able to say, design is definitely this, or design is definitely that. And when I ask them what I do as a service designer, they make stuff up. I think the last time I asked them what I did, they said I built computers. So I'm giving off all kinds of vibes. But then if you ask the people that employ us, if you ask the industry what design is, you get a lot of things. You get UX, you get service design, you get content designers, you get product designers, experience designers. People just kind of put a letter in front of a D and say, that's your job, that's what you do. And what it says to me is there's a really big gap between what we do as designers, how the outside world sees designers, but then how the industry tries to employ us as designers. And what that really does is it limits the capability of what we can actually do and deliver as a designer. And we're pushed to kind of deliver this final product, the final result. And I think early on in my career, I was really frustrated at being brought into the end of a conversation where all of the thinking and problem solving had been done and given a brief to say, now it's your turn. Just go and do it. Just give us something to build, give us a design. I feel like this is true of the industry. The industry tells us design is the final product. It's the end result. It's what you see on the screen. It's what's delivered. Design is often that kind of. It's what you interact with. It's not the kind of thinking. It's not the collaboration. It's not understanding how content works alongside a visual, alongside an interaction. It's none of that. It's just that end result. So what happens when you ask me, someone who hasn't come from a classically trained design background, who is self-taught, who does service design in a world where you kind of focus on product or focused on web? I think post-it notes are going to come up a lot today. And I see design as this. I see design as understanding what's going on. It's being in a room full of collaboration, full of post-it notes, full of wacky ideas, full of compromise, full of challenge. It's really understanding what's going on and working together to get to a coherent understanding of what a journey is and really bringing as many people into that conversation as possible. Design is facilitation. To me, design is actually going out and speaking to the people that are going to use your service, product, interface, whatever it might be, and hearing their thoughts and opinions on it. It's about getting to the heart of how people understand what you're trying to do. It's being told you're crap or being told that your designs don't work, and it's also taking out paper prototypes and not being scared of getting your work out into the public space for feedback. Design to me has really taken me on a massive journey of understanding how different people work and operate, but also how to build empathy with a whole spectrum of people. So my role as a service designer it started out in tech, but also went on a kind of wild tangent into the public sector, where I was spending days on end in kind of food banks, in homeless shelters. I did a stint out with bin crews, understanding how people picking up waste operate. And then it's brought me back into the tech space where I'm understanding how to card sort and working with people to see how they interact with things. And to me, that's what is at the heart of design. It's really looking at that full process and immersing yourself in the research and unpicking all of the different things that happen along the way to be able to deliver a better designed process experience and relationship with the people that you're trying to serve. And I guess, hopefully a few people have seen this before, but this is what design is like to me. It's messy, and it's uncompromising, and it's floating between massive, massive ideas through to the minute detail of what you're trying to deliver. It's working with stakeholders across the board, your end users, investors, and everyone in between to really get to a point of consistency and coherent understanding of what you're trying to do. To me, design isn't just that final result. It's everything that goes before it. And that's where we need to start having a conversation about the value that design brings to any organisation and business. So what happens when there is a massive disconnect between what the industry says design is, what the people around us think design is, and what we as designers or people that work in the space know designers, when we know the kind of thought process, the ways of working, the facilitation techniques, when we have this massive array of skills that is so much more than just the end product or the interface or the wireframe? What should we actually do about it? I think we need to be clear that when we talk about design, we're talking about making data-driven decisions, and I know that it can be scary to think of all of the work we do as data-driven because I hate numbers and they scare me. But when we work in multidisciplinary teams and across an organisation and bring different people into that conversation, we can start having real debates about what the numbers are telling us alongside what our users are telling us to build an evidence base that helps us make true data-driven decisions that are for good. So not only are we making decisions because the numbers tell us something's working or because the user is leading us down a path of what they need, but we're trying to make the right decision for the right people at the right time. We're not just making them because it needs to be made. We're being really conscious of what that good is and what good means in that space. So if there's one thing we can do, it's start shouting about how we're using design, we're basing it on evidence and research to make the right decision, and that we're constantly going to go back to that. No decision is set in stone and no decision lasts forever. But what we're trying to say is the more we can learn, the more we can build, and the more we can iterate, the better and stronger our design is going to be. I think we need to start being clear that design is about putting humans first, and that ultimately anything and everything that we design, whether it is technology-based or whether it's a customer experience through a shop, it's about humans, it's about people. There's no point building something if no one's going to use it, if it doesn't work for the end user. And that does mean putting humans before tech. Having worked in quite a few tech startups and tech environments, I grew constantly frustrated about the tech-first driven solutions and trying to think through the tech stack before understanding what it was you were actually trying to build or deliver. And that problem escalates when we get excited and can see the realms of possibility of what technology can bring us and the new interactions or new insights or new ways of working it can give us. And I think our role as designers is to scale all of that excitement and scale all of that uncertainty back to that kind of core fundamental human need that we're trying to meet, and then understanding how technology can help us meet that, whether it is that blue sky thinking or something smaller. Keep bringing it back to the people, bringing it back to the human. And contrary to what we heard this morning, I do think design is problem solving, but I don't think that's the end of it. I think it's problem solving for people. It's about understanding where those problems come from and the context around why those problems exist. It's about knowing that the problems that you're trying to design for may have existed for decades, and it's to really understand what all of those decades have led to. I think design in particular at the moment is blurred with the kind of hipster narrative and Nordic styles that we see so much, that design can often come across as quite arrogant, or an arrogant approach to only us as designers can own this space, when actually it's really collaborative and it's about that understanding. So when we look at the problems that we're trying to solve and that we're trying to address, it's about being humble around the experiences that everyone has had on that journey around that problem, and taking all of that context and history with us to put people first and to design solutions and ideas around what they need. So, I've talked a lot about what design is. I'm going to pose a design question and challenge to you in a format that should ring true. So, how might we? So, how? Let's keep this open. Might? We're not committing to anything. And we, as everyone in this room, embed design at all levels of an organisation so that designers aren't sat on their own in a design community only working on the aesthetics and the end result. How can we bring design into the development conversations, into cross-functional teams, into the boardroom, into every aspect of what is going on, so that we can actually design the way a business or an organisation operates? So that we can design the future we all need. Because we have the tools in our hands to really think about what we want and what we need from a future. And we have the tools to get the voices of the people that are using those services and products into those decisions and into that room. So let's really take ownership of that and bring those voices with us into the space so that we are actively making decisions on data, putting people and problem solving in a way that really works. Because if we're not able to do that, if us as designers, if us as a collective aren't able to represent what true design is and what we really mean by our job titles, who else will? Because we've left it to the other people in society, we've left it to the industry to try and determine this for us. I think it's now our time to step up and start saying this is what design is and this is the value that it can bring back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Finn. What's the most important thing that you learned working in the public space?
Well, the first thing that jumps to mind is resilience. I think working in the public sector, you hear hard stories that you don't often hear in the private sector because you're dealing with the kind of fundamental needs that people have to survive, so how to keep money in the bank or how to feed your kids at the end of the day. So you really have to learn how to look after yourself and put your own emotions first when you're hearing really devastating stories all the time. And I think actually as an industry and a sector, we don't give ourselves enough credit for taking all of that on and how much it takes out of us to just listen and give back.
And what's the most important thing you've learned about working in the private world?
Funnily enough, I did a talk on this the other day. I think the biggest thing I've learned from the private sector that the public sector can learn is how to build trust and autonomy in the team that you're building. So breaking out of the bureaucracy and structures that have existed in the public sector for such a long time and knowing that you're hiring the talent to do the job unleashes and unlocks all of this creativity and productivity that I think the public sector is missing out on.
I know you. I know how passionate you are about the work that you do and stuff. What would you want your legacy to be?
I want to shine a light on what inclusion means in the industry. So what it means to actually represent the society that we're trying to serve through the products and services that we're building, and how you can do that by creating cultures that embrace openness. So being able to have frank and open conversations about what's happening inside and outside of work so that everyone is able to bring their whole selves into the space.
Thank you very much, Finn.
Thanks.
Big round of applause, please.